past and not the future, a collection of Arab dress and adornment, celebrating human narrative.
Friends of the Zay, creator advisors, and guests. Today, the 11th of March, 2022, I am sitting here in Dubai for a very special talk where Dr. Al-Matwali and Heike Weber are going to discuss heritage to enrich lives. We're absolutely delighted Heike is here in Dubai with us. I really hope you enjoy the talk. And don't forget to save the link for future viewings and recaps. And don't forget, today you can also pause, stop, and repeat as much as you want. We really look forward to seeing you back with us at our next live webinar on the 17th of May with Paula Kwaktas-Lop of Nili, where we'll be discussing the use of telly in today's clothing. Make sure you check out our exhibition at Mall of the Emirates Dubai on telly, running between the 1st of April and the 1st of June 2022. That's enough from me. Allow me to leave you with Dr. Reem and Heike to discuss heritage to enrich lives. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our world, a world in which we routinely converse with voices from the past and hope to address readers from the future, as we all explore the story of dress and how to make sense of this combination of old and new. For the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time, we always like to start by explaining that our name emanates from the word Zay. Zay literally means the costume and general attire of certain country or era. And why Arabic? Because the Zay initiative is concerned with the legacy of the Arab world. The Zay initiative was founded to help promote an understanding of the evolution of regional culture across the Arab world through dress, to build public awareness and appreciation of this unique heritage, and to create a platform for like-minded individuals and institutions nationally, regionally, and globally. Now, simply put, as you always hear me say, we at the Zay Initiative collect the tangible to narrate the intangible. We collect artifacts to help record the stories of those who used or wore them. We are a UK registered non-profit that especially focuses on empowering women regionally and globally by bringing their untold stories to life. The initiative owns over 1,800 pieces of dress and ornament from across the Arab world and its surroundings. On our website, you will see over 200 key examples of these dresses by simply navigating our collection. We are working towards all the articles being added to the collection by publishing few articles at a time. Now, some of you might wonder, what do we mean when we mention the Arab world? The Arab world is a culture, an Arab is a cultural trait rather than a racial one. Not all Arabs are Muslims, not all Muslims are Arabs. The Arab world is full of rich and diverse communities, ethnicities, religions, groups, and cultures, including Muslims, Christians, Jews, Yazidis, Kurds, Armenians, Amazigh, Berber, and many other minorities. Differences do exist not only among countries, but within countries as well. And there are over 200 million Arabs worldwide. Generally, anyone who adopts the Arabic language is typically called an Arab. Today, we have a special guest who has come from Syria and is in the UAE for a short period of time. And we were lucky that we managed to get a hold of her in order to do this recording for all of your benefit. Heike Weber, welcome to the UAE. I'm talking to you from London and you are in Dubai, and I think our audience is from all around the globe. And it's such a wonderful thing to have this technology and to be able to connect with each other. Heidi, welcome to our platform. And I want to start first by having you introduce yourself. I am really intrigued to let everybody know a little bit of background information about you.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Heike Weber and I live in Syria since 40 years, since 1982 exactly. And I founded in 1988 the Anat workshop. And the aim of the workshop is first to give work to women, because this was what they were asking us to do, and to use their traditional embroideries, because this is something they are very skilled in this. And so we try to improve their skills, to teach them always a new step, and so that they have a better income also. And this helps them to for their self-confidence and for their independence. The second aim,
Damascus?
in Syria, not only Damascus. We had at the end of before the war in 2011, we had about more than 1,000 embroiderers all over Syria. We're visiting them in the villages, teaching and teaching. They know how to embroider. What we did teaching is to add something more professionality, or need to add something to their knowledge, and to teach them also other techniques that have been forgotten. There are a lot of forgotten embroidery techniques in Syria. Nobody knows to do it anymore today. The old people still remember, this was in my childhood. My grandmother did this. So, it's very difficult. So I explored these techniques by opening up the old dresses and to find out how this is done, and then teach it again to the women. So this is the first aim of the workshop. The second aim is actually to keep the culture alive. We always say, when these old dresses are put to a museum, that means it's a dead culture. The museum is a graveyard of cultures. And even if you wear an old dress for a national day or for it's something like a memory. It's something like you using something which is actually dead. And we want to bring it alive again. So we were thinking about how people are dressing today and how we can integrate old techniques and old ideas in this in a modern design. So this is the second aim of our workshop, and the third one is actually for me as a foreigner. I always say my parents are German, I am Syrian, so it's a little bit funny, but I feel like this because I lived a longer time in Syria than I lived in Germany actually. So for me as a foreigner, I felt it is a duty of me to build bridges between peoples. And the Syrian people, they are sometimes looked in a very bad way. They have a bad propaganda sometimes in the West. And so I wanted to show the culture to the Western world in order to perhaps change their idea about Syria a little bit. And we did a lot of fashion shows and exhibitions outside in Europe, in America, in even Japan and Australia, and of course in Arab countries also. But we always found, especially in Europe and America, that people were astonishing that this comes from Syria. So they had a wrong idea about Syria before, and we were able at least to change it for some people. And
fascinating what you're doing, and every word that you just said resonates within me and within our team, because it seems like fate has brought us together, because what you have started is exactly what we are trying to do. So I'm so pleased that we met and our paths crossed, because you seem to have the same passion that we have. And what I noticed that when you speak of Syria, you speak of Syria as the greater Syria, because as we go along now with our talk and with the slides, just so that people will understand and follow, you will show examples sometimes from Palestine, from Jordan, from Syria today, but actually it is the greater Syria, because at the time these barriers were not there.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking of the Levant, and the Levant is a very special place in the world because it was always captured between two superpowers. In the east, the Syrians, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, and in the south, the Pharaohs. And all these superpowers wanted to have access to the Levant, especially the wood of the cedar woods. So, and in the Levant, there were only little kingdoms. So they had to defend themselves with cleverness. They could not defend themselves military. They were not on the same level. So they were very clever. And a lot of inventions were made in this area. The alphabet in Algorithm, or the religions, the three main religions come from this area, and also the ship industry by the Phoenicians. So they were inventors, they were traders, they were clever politicians also, because they at first against these two superpowers in the east and south, later against the Greek and the Roman Empire. So they had always a position where they, as a weak position, have to focus on their creativity and intelligence. And this is also, embroidery has profited from this in this area, because it was also a melting pot for cultures. Later, the Silk Road, the main meeting point of the Silk Road was in Syria and in Aleppo and in the Syrian, northern Syrian area. So I think this place must be seen as a unity.
Correct.
And if you want to divide it, actually there is north and south. You can divide it into north and south. And north is Syria, Lebanon, and even a part of Jalil belongs traditionally more to the north than to the south, which is Palestine. And
you published a book on the matter.
Yeah, I was, I was so much interested, or I was astonished about why do women embroider? They have these peasant women in the old times, they had so much work to do. They had, most of them had about 10 children to take care of and to wash and to bake and whatever. And they sit in their leisure time, which was actually not very much. They sit and embroidered. Why? Why do they embroider? Why is such an important thing for them? And I met a peasant also now, some years ago in Syria, and she said, I have to embroider. And unfortunately, my children and grandchildren don't appreciate my work. I used to embroider for them. They don't appreciate it. I'm happy that you come and that I am able to embroider again. She was actually rich, or not rich, she was well off. She didn't need embroidery for money. She needed it for her soul. So, yeah.
My mother does that.
Yeah, I think that embroidery is a very important thing for the spiritual well-being. So it's full of symbols. And these symbols are very old. They go back to a time, 5,000-6,000 years ago. We find them in archaeology, and the same symbols are still transported to us through this embroideresses in embroidery. So the main embroidery stitch in the Levant is the cross. Mm-hmm. And the cross stitch is already a symbol, because it is the line of death that is crossed by the line of life. So it's the point of creation. It is a positive energy. The cross stitch is a positive energy. And we have here now an idol of Katna, and her body is marked with a cross. So this is the power of creation. And of course, with the cross-stitch embroidery, it's like a mosaic. You can put together, and you can put it in a way that you can create a lot of symbols. Now here, for instance, this is from, there are, on the left is a dress from Al-Majdal in Palestine. On the right is a dress from northern Syria. And you have these triangles. Of course, it's totally different. The one are big and the others are very small, but they are triangles. And these triangles that you have seen before also on the lap of this idol from Katna. This means that all the circles that the human being lives and that nature follows are marked by 3 points: birth, power, death. Oh. So we have the human being is born, grows, comes to power and to wisdom, and then fades away and dies. The day the sun is born in the morning, raises to the sky and falls down and is sent back to the underworld. To the underworld. This was the belief in myths of the area, and also the month. The moon raises as a crescent, comes to power as a full moon and fades away again and goes through the underworld, is not seen for 1-2 days, and then comes up again. The year is born in spring, is fertile in summer, in harvest time, and then dies in winter. So the triangle marks this circle.
Wow.
And we find it in archaeology. The moon was always pictured as a cow or the bull of heaven. The Sumerians said the bull of heaven that measures the time. Yani this triangle measures the time of the year, of the month, of the lifetime of a human being. Here we have also the triangles from a dress from Idlib, from Tamana, exactly. So and this bull is always pictured here. It is from the Negev desert.
So we are seeing it in all these different areas in that geographical area. They all apply it.
Yeah.
And did these women understand the background that you have just described, or do they just do it unconsciously?
Well, this is the point. The old ethnology always said, ask the embroideresses, and I asked the embroideresses and they couldn't explain it to me. Yeah. My mother-in-law, she was a very good educated embroideress, and she was born in the beginning of the last century. So older than this you cannot find anymore. And I asked, and she said, I embroidered something, and she said, oh, well, not bad done. If you try hard, you can learn it. So I was shocked, I said, don't you like it? And she said, yeah, I like it very much, but it's not like we embroider. And I said, but I put I took some sketches from your dresses. And she said, yeah, but this pattern is not here placed, and the color is too orange, and this must not be like this. And I said, why? And she said, because it is like this. And when you remember the book of Sheila Ware, she also interviewed in Palestinian costumes, she interviewed embroideresses 20 years before, and they always said, because it was like this. She asked them, why is the shinyar, which is the back of a dress, why is it in the back and not in the front? Because would be better seen there. The embroideress answered, since the world was created, the shinyar was on the back. And it's really true, since the world was created, since humanity came to be a group, a society, it was like this. It has a meaning. But modern ethnology now says that often all traditions are only reproduced as people are used to do it like this, and they forget the meaning. And this happened a lot. And in Palestine, for instance, they forgot the meaning, and then they changed the names of the patterns. For instance, the moon pattern in the north was called Khemet al-Basha, the tent of the Pasha, because this pattern has nothing to do with the moon for them. So they don't understand the name anymore. But it resembled for them this square tents that the Bashas put on there. And so they called it Khemet al-Basha. So this is a sign that they forgot about it. But
what you just explained about the cross stitch, I mean, generally people will think it's related to the Christian tradition, but what you've just shown that it is to do. I mean, you've presented it in such a wonderful way. I'm mesmerized by it, the crossing of life and death, and it's an older symbol that supersedes the Christian.
Christian used this old symbol because in Christianity it also means to overcome death.
Yeah,
and actually the crucifix that they were on it like a T, not on a cross, but the symbol of a cross was used here to propagate the idea of overcoming death.
And similarly, if I may use the symbol of the Star of David, which we discuss tremendously within our area of the world, and it has so many symbolisms that date back in history, and its contemporary symbolism, and how they relate to each other and how they changed in time.
Yeah, there are two triangles. The triangle, there are two circles, the circle of heaven and underworld, and so they are put together and to make the whole symbol. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's very old, and it was used by Jews to it represents now the Jews, but it's a very old symbol. Like the cross was used by the Christians, but it's an old symbol.
Yes, yes. And we have now here 3 symbols, correct?
This is armrest from a throne in Mari, 5,000 years ago, and this is actually a cow, and she has the triangle on the chest, on the
Forehead.
Chin, forehead, yeah, on the forehead, and this says, Yani, she is the bull of heaven who organizes time, and this is Egyptian. I put this Egyptian statue because it's so obvious. There is the moon crescent on the side, and you have also the triangle on the forehead, and between her horns, which are actually also a symbol of the moon crescent, she carries the sun, because there is a relation between moon and sun. The moon is the creator, the sun is the female power of giving life, and the sun is the male counterpart. So there is an old myth in the Levant that says that the moon gives birth to the sun in the morning. They both go up to the sky and have their holy wedding, and at noontime, and then the moon is sent back to the underworld to be reborn next day. And what happened is that the god of the underworld, Mod, which is in Arabic death, he captured Baal. And Anat, or Ashtar, or whatever you call this power, was not able to give birth again. So she, as the moon, took off her beautiful clothes, became a Christian. The full moon became a Christian, went down to the underworld to rescue Baal from the underworld, had a fight with Mod, and rescued Baal and reborn him again and got up again as a full moon. But now, in order to get rid of the death forever, she grinded the mold up in her hand mill and throw him over the country in order to take him away at all. And then she learned that it grow again. So she learned that there is no life without death, and death is necessary to renew life. So in Palestinian embroidery, you have the palm tree, especially in Ramallah, as a symbol. And the palm is a very good symbol for this, because every year there come new leaves and the old leaves die. And why? Through this action, the trunk is getting stronger and stronger. Or if you say in modern words, more sustainable. Yeah. So we as a society should become also more sustainable generation after generation by learning from each other and following the wisdom of the forefathers.
True.
And there's a lot of wisdom in embroidery, so we can learn from it.
And in this slide, maybe you can explain it to us.
Yes, this is a very old pattern. Also, we have on the left, on the top, this is from caves in France. And then you have the Tal Hassuna, it's 7,000 years before Christ. You have the pottery of Hassuna, you have the same pattern, and then pharaonic pattern from the fourth millennium before Christ. And this same pattern we still have in Palestinian and Syrian embroidery. And it's called, in the Palestinian and Syrian embroidery, it's called water and waves. And this, no, it's not this one.
I go back here?
I don't know. No, there must be a pattern, water and waves.
It will come.
Okay. And this pattern was especially in Khalil and in North Syria it was used, and it is the same idea. Life goes up and goes down again, and so there is no life without that. It is a coming and going. So this is something very important. The stairs. Here, this on the Palestinian, on all Palestinian dresses, you have this, a stair.
Like steps.
Like steps, coming down and going up. And well, for my mother-in-law, she said, this is one of the, I start with this when I embroider a chest part, and this is the very important thing to be put. And when I wanted to make something like hers, I have forgotten this. It was a big mistake, because this is the main thing to be put. And I found it again in Patra. The Nabateans used to put this stair over all the graves. And I asked the Bedouins there, why do they put this sign or this piece over the graves? And they said, this is to enable the power of new life or of overcoming death. So the dead person went down and is coming up again. So this is the main pattern also on the Palestinian dresses, and also in Syrian dresses, by the way, not so much, not so obvious, but often also on Syrian dresses, yes.
More symbols.
More symbols. This is the double X. We find it also in the caves. Here you have it in France in 15,000 before Christ, and you have it in the Minoan culture. Of course, there was a lot of interrelation between the Minoan culture and the Levant, because there was trade lines. And Catalhuyuk, which is in Eastern Turkey. And this is also something like 3,000 before Christ, I think. And I don't know, you have another picture of this. There is oh no, it's go back. I've forgotten. Here on the left down, you see the goddess is holding this in her hand, and you see the waters of the underworld above, and you see the stars. So it's not a picture, it's more a symbol, or a picture that symbolizes something. And the double axe means that the creative power is holding the world in her hands, the underworld and the heavens. So this is the two triangles of the double axe, the underworld and the heaven.
And we see it
and
here.
here you have it. You have it in symbols of Palestinian embroidery here, from different areas. From Gaza and from here also, Fallujah, you have this double axe, and here also from Beit Dajjal.
Fallujah is the one in where?
Fallujah is on the coastal side between north of Gaza Strip.
So it's not the Fallujah of Iraq.
No, they are
because
same
it could be misunderstood.
No.
Yes. And the tradition of this kind of embroidery, does it extend to Iraq, to the Mesopotamian area, or it is only in this Levant area?
Well, it differs. It's quite a difference between Iraqi embroidery, but I'm not a specialist in this, so I don't want to. But there's a lot of difference. For instance, we have in northern Syria, we have also a kind of embroidery that comes from Central Asia. And I think also in Iraq, it was very much influenced from Central Asia, also the embroidery. And the stitch that is used in northern Syria, it is internationally called Bukhari stitch. So it obviously comes from Central Asia. You know, in the old times, the cultures were meeting each other on eye level. There was not one overwhelming culture was oppressing all the others and became like the ruling culture. People would learn from each other, take and give. And so there are a lot, especially in Syria, in the northern part of the Levant, you have through the Silk Road, you had a meeting point. So they had a lot of ideas taken from the Central Asia and taken also from the Mediterranean side, especially from Italy. So this exchange of cultures make the culture rich, actually. And to connect, to discuss, to open your mind to another culture is always also in favor for your own culture, for the development of your own culture.
And is the placement of these symbols within the dress? I mean, we're looking at these two examples. You have the steps, you have the X, you have the triangle, you have the double X. Is there a sequence for it? Or do people, does every embroiderer choose a pattern and they work with it? Is there a specific pattern they work on, or is it random?
Now, the places of the dress where the embroidery is put is very important. At first, you have to, it's like an amulet. So you have to secure certain parts of your body. So the chest part is the most important place. Only the best embroiderers, when the family embroider together, only the best embroiderers will embroider the chest part. And this is the heart, the soul, whatever, the center of the body is protected by this. Then you have on the Palestinian and also in the Syrian dresses, the back part of the skirt, the chinyar, I spoke about when I quoted Sheila Ware. This is a part where the evil eye can easily hit, because the evil eye hits from the back. The evil eye is not something, it is something that is the expression of jealousy, greed in society. So yani it's actually a social thing. It's not the thing of superstitious. Also, the evil eye hits from the back.
Could we call it negative energy today? Is it what we call negative energy possibly today?
Yes, negative energy. That's the evil eye. So from the back, you must be also secure yourself. Then you have the shoulders, which is also a very important part. In Islam, they said the angels sit on the shoulders. It's a very important part, so it must also be protected. Then all the openings, because the evil goes the evil can go into the dress from down, from the edges down, from the arms, for all the openings must be embroidered also. And then you have now the cutting pattern. You have the cutting lines going down. You have they used to make it very clever because they had only small looms, 40 centimeters. So they had a material of 40 centimeters, and because it's hand woven, they didn't want to lose a centimeter of material. Yes. So they used a long stripe of 3 meters from front to the back, one stripe, and then they cut only the hole, the neck hole in it. And then for the side panels, they cut a long piece like triangles, and they put a triangle here and a triangle there to make it easy to move. And the arms are also either only a strip, or when you have this erdan, the long, then you have again the triangles, so that no piece is lost. But this makes sewing lines here, and all the sewing lines must also be protected. And then there is a special stitch in Palestine, it's called manajil, and different kinds of manajil. And these are when they did the hand sewing, they did it by hand, and to protect this, next to it, they would put also embroidery for the protection. And then later on, when the dresses became more and more rich, this embroidery was broader and broader. And so you can see here now, almost all the part is closed. The dress from Al-Fallujah, you have this in the middle, this patchwork in the middle. This is also an interesting story. And in the beginning in this area, the dresses were open. They had a slit in the middle, and so you could put your dress up and put it in the here up when you're walking, and they were wearing surwal under it. So this was open, and it was always like this. But in the First World War, when they took the Turks took the peasants, the Palestinian peasants, to the war, they went to places where they have never been, out of their village, out of their areas, and they have seen things that they have never seen before. And so when they came back, they said, "This is aib. You have to close the opening." And women said, "No, we always did it like this. Why is it suddenly aib?" And a shame, in English. So they fought a fight, and this is written in Sheila Ware's book, very interesting, in Sheila Ware's book, Palestinian Costume. They were fighting for the slit in their dress. So they closed it with tassels. They closed the slit with tassels, which made it actually more attractive and more ape in a way, until it took about 10 years until the slit was closed. But as a memory, this embroidery panel in the middle is kept. And now what happened to us in the 90s, we had made dresses like this, and there were women from, I think, Saudi Arabia or from the Khalij. I don't remember exactly where they came from. They wanted to buy a dress and they said, no, we don't like this middle piece, it's ape. Because it has this, like it's pointing.
Yeah.
So.
The Mesopotamian link.
Yes, this is the tree of life. The tree of life is one of the also very important patterns in the north and in the south. Here you can see on the seal from Mari, it's also very much symbolic. There is a hill or a mountain. This is a triangle, and at the same time the mountain where Baal arises from in order to bring the rain, and he has a crewel in his hand and he makes rain. There are the two double crosses in front of him to picture him as a divinity. And these human trees or humans, you cannot see what it is. That means Baal brings fertility. These tree patterns, you have it in the embroidery. Here on the left-hand side, a relief from Ur. It's a ceremony that they used to do in order to water the plants. And this was a ceremony done in order to remind Baal that he has to come and bring the rain. And in the last one here, there are this is the boat where Baal goes through the underworld, and you have three trees on the right and three trees on the left.
Wonderful.
This is from in heritage Khabiev storage place from Jordan, where you have these trees and also the double star. And from the Syrian countryside, a wall with a tree on it. The chest, the Sanduk al-Aruz, they always have, whoever has one chest like this in his house should look, they always have these trees on it in a way or the other. And here the door in Safira in North Syria. And on the right, you see how the Palestinian woman would be dressed up as a bride for her bridal procession. And she has these trees put on her shoulders in order to enable her to give life. And until now, the Arabs go to the graves on the feast and bring tree branches to empower the dead. This is a dress from Al-Jalil. By the way, this is one of the collection Wydad Kawar, and a lot of these dresses are from the collection of Madame Wydad Kawar, and the others of my collection. This is one of the collection of Madame Wydad Kawar. It's from Jalil. And as I said, Jalil is the embroidery language is closer to the north and to the south. And from Al-Sukhna, you have also the trees. You have these like a cypress tree on top, and you have the branches on the side, a tree with branches on the side.
It's interesting that the one from on the left, Jalil, half of the skirt is embroidered in one style and the other half is in a different style.
No,
you have the birds on one side, and you have birds and flowery branches on one side, and then you have that triangular look on the left.
Yes. Yeah, there are different kinds of trees, actually. There are trees on the left and on the right. And on the left, you have a tree, and I think there are fishes, and on the other side, there are birds. Yeah.
And this triangular shape that we see on the Al-Sukhna dress,
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, many of the Syrian, what they call Syrian dresses, they have this pattern of this triangle. It's like a square that is placed to create the neckline
Yes.
and then added. Is there is there a story behind it? Is there something?
Yeah, the net, the story of the net, you have this crossing line that, like a square paper or something. Yeah, you have it in the Syrian dresses, and this is called the net. And in history, actually, you have a change from matriarchalic thinking to patriarchalic thinking. And this is obvious in the Gilgamesh, epic of Gilgamesh, where Gilgamesh is fighting against the priestess of the female goddess and overcomes them, and as the first man starts an empire, builds a wall around the city and starts an empire. So this is actually the epic about handing over from the female giving power to the male power. And so many of the signs of the female power were reinterpreted. So the net was actually, for the goddess, it was the weaving also. It was something to put things in order, to put the world in order. This was actually the meaning of the net in the female society. Now, when patriarchy took over, it became a sign of power. And you can, I don't know if we have this, the coins from Europe, in the medieval coins from Europe. You have the kings with the same, as if they are wearing a Syrian dress. They have these squares on their, as a sign of power.
And you have it in the ghutra, the head cover that
Yes.
we continue to wear it today in most of the Arab.
Yes, the kufi is the same. Yeah, you have this net. And there is also a statue of Enrich. He had captured his enemies in a net. So it's obviously, it became a sign of power.
It's very
so
interesting.
When I said we can divide the Levant into the north and to the south, the interesting thing is that in the north, there are more the symbols of the male Baal, the tree. We have the net. We have what else? The tree, the net. What else? The sun pattern. The sun pattern. These are from the north, and in the south we have as the main pattern the star pattern, the moon pattern of the goddess. And we have also the male component, but the main pattern is the moon pattern there. So this is, you can explain, because patriarchy started from the east or the north, moved from the east, north, and later arrived in the south. And the time of Jesus Christ, there were still temples of the matriarch goddess, Anat. And in the Bible, there's written that Jesus went to discuss with nuns in the temples, and this was in Anata, a village north of Jerusalem, and there was a temple of Anat still in this time.
Wow. And this brings us to more dresses that show all these symbols, the triangle, the steps, correct, and the tree.
Here you have mainly the tree pattern and the sun pattern. You know, up on the tree, this round thing, this is the sun pattern. It's also called sun. They call it, embroiderers call it sun pattern. And here is from Idlib also. Well, the sun is not, it's very modern, this sun on the end of the tree branches, but it's obviously a tree with the sun pattern on the end. Yeah, these are seals where you see the sun pattern from different areas around the Eastern Mediterranean.
Which takes
And
us to this.
this is from Palestine. You also have this. It's called lamp. This pattern, the sun pattern, is called in Palestine lamp. But when you understand that the names of the patterns change when people have forgotten their mythological meaning, and yeah, it is obviously that a moon pattern could also be understood as a lamp, because it shows the rays of the light. And this very famous pattern, the refuge, this very famous Palestinian pattern, is actually part of the a quarter of the moon pattern, of the sun pattern.
Okay, so it's derived from it to create,
Yes.
because refuge means feather in Arabic. So
Feather.
the feather, yeah.
And this on the top on the left, it's also disc of feathers. This is obviously a sun pattern, but it is they have forgotten, and it looked like refuge. It looked like feathers, so they called it like this. But it's very old. Yeah, here you have also very obviously the tree with the sun on top. It's like a cypress tree.
Do you see the large triangular form that connects the shoulders to the back?
Yes, this is typical for Syrian dresses.
Yes. Why? Is there a reason for that? Why? What is the purpose of this shape?
Yeah, I think it's also this stairs, but in the front you often, because you have these squares, it goes also like a steps down and up. But
because you don't see this pattern anywhere else in the Arab world. This square, it's actually a square that is folded into two, and then a neckline opening is in there, correct?
Yeah, but I don't think that it has technical explanation. I think it is also, it has the meaning, the same meaning as the stairs in the Palestinian dresses, but it is.
And you call this?
It ends in the Palestinian. It ends here, and now it's followed here.
Yes, and here you call it the coat, the sun coat of Saraqib. But what you see are symbols of the tree, the triangle, the feathery, it is the feather part, which is you're calling the sun, right?
Sun, this is called sun. This is also interesting because this kind of like a tree and with the sun at the end, with the sun pattern at the end. Also in Syria, they forgot about the meaning. And when the railway were built in Syria, they called it railway because it has parallel lines, and it resembled them of the railway. And the railway was, of course, more modern and more important, so they called it railway.
So would it be called in Arabic shams, as sun, or
shams? Yeah, it's called shams. And some people still say shams, and or sikat al-Qatar. Now the new
railway
name for this, railway for this,
Yes.
Here also you have the trees,
Yes.
This is about the colors. It's also interesting. The next
one. There you go.
Yes, the colors also have a meaning. That mainly it's embroidered in red, and either on white or on black material. Mainly for the younger girls, it was on white material, later on black material, or of course black too. Before there was artificial color, it was very expensive to have black coloring, so they were often white, the dresses, because it was simpler. And here in the Ramallah area, you have the three colors, black, white, and red. There you have the white dress embroidered with red, and they say, "Nkahal Fustan." We put some small black dots in order to make it more shining or more coming out, more standing out. But actually, Yeah, but actually these three colors have also a meaning. The white is the color of virginity, of spring, of new life. Red is the color of love and fertility, blood. So in the year, it's the harvest time. And black is the color of rest and wisdom, and it's the color of winter. So these three colors you find always in the embroidery. And in Syria, especially, you have yellow, very often a yellow color. And this has also a certain meaning. In the Minoan culture, saffron is a good medicine for menstrual pain. So there was a ritual when the girls grow up and become their first menstruation, they go together with their friends to collect saffron as a medicine, and it was like a ritual. And of course, people always thought that what helps from inside, it's also good from outside. So especially for women, they found it very appropriate to dye their threads in yellow with saffron to give power to the body. So this is from Hama. You have here,
which leads me to a note that you just mentioned regarding the black color, and we see a lot of black in our areas. I know that the black became very popular with industrial age because the machinery could produce the color. But before that, to get the black color, you needed to use indigo, which was an expensive dye, and therefore black was a status symbol, we could say.
Yeah, I think in the old times it was a status symbol, and I think that when it comes available for everybody tries to imitate this status, though it's not longer a status symbol when it becomes cheap. But I think this happens here also in our world today with fashion. Often happens like this. So here you have a nightgown in saffron dye, yellow saffron dye.
Yes.
Embroidered from the Kalamun area.
Beautiful.
Very fine, very fine. The embroidery in the north is much finer than in the south and much more elaborated, and a lot of techniques, different techniques, because they have learned from Central Asia, they have learned from the Mediterranean. The southern part was more isolated. So they have not such a variety of stitches. Yeah.
And Bir Saba, the one from Bir Saba, there are traces of blue in the bottom. What is that?
Yeah, in Bir Saba, the colors played an important role. We have for the bride, for the first time in her life, she's allowed to wear a red embroidered dress because this is good for her fertility when she married. But before she gets married, she has to wear a blue embroidered dress because she is without protection. You know, a child is protected by the father. A wife is protected by the husband. Of course, in the patriarchal society I'm speaking now, there is an age in between when she is already ready to give birth, has her menstruation, but not married yet. This is a very dangerous time for the woman, not protected, not more protected by her father, and not yet married, not protected by the husband. So she has to wear a blue embroidered dress. Blue is the color against the evil eye. And then when she marries, she wears a red dress. And this is a dress of a remarried widow because she has blue and she has to keep the blue dress in memory of her dead first husband. And she adds some red embroidery in order to be fertile for her new husband again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the patterns that we are seeing on the Bir Saba dress are
well, you have a lot of triangles, and you have little trees. And it's also the square pattern, these triangles at the end, they form the squares also that you have in Syrian embroidery. Here you have, this is the blue dress of a virgin or of a widow, and this is the dress of a remarried woman. The blue color, by the way, it's very interesting. It has why it's good against, why people thought it's good against the evil eye. The blue color is a very special, it's a very special color because our planet is a blue planet. We have the sky is blue, the water is blue, but the blue is a color, you cannot touch it. You cannot touch the sky, you cannot take the color blue. You cannot touch the water. When you touch it, it becomes without color. So this was also always a miracle for the people, where the blue color was a miracle color. And the pharaohs, when they went to Afghanistan to bring this blue stone in order to make their jewelry, it was a color that only the pharaoh was allowed to use. It was so expensive and so seldom, and this color put him in connection with the gods. So blue is a very special color, and it is you don't find it in nature very often, especially in the you cannot find something that you can make the color out of it. You find it very often, but not touchable. You cannot get it.
So it is correct to say that all these symbols that have been embroidered and the use of the colors and so on and so forth is in itself a form of amulet that a person is wearing through their clothing to protect them, and it adds a layer of spirituality sort of thing, other than as a layer of protection for climatic reasons, correct?
Yes, both perhaps, but more important, the spiritual meaning of it. And also every village had their own designs. There are the same patterns, but in every village they did it in a little bit different way. So a connoisseur will know this girl, when she comes to the city, everybody will know, oh, this is from this village. And she finds protection also of the other people that come from this village or come from her area. They will protect her. So it's also like a passport today. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see where she comes from, and she gets protection from her fellow villagers or people from the area. And everybody was proud of showing that I am from this village, and every village, of course, thought that they have the best embroidery, the best patterns, and the best things. Yeah.
And here we have the moon pattern, which confused me, because to me, as an uneducated eye, I see a sun ray, the feathers, the sun, the inverted. So how is it a moon?
Yeah.
I see the X.
This is the double cross in the middle, is the creation. And creation was always a female power of creating. It was always seen as a female power. So it's the moon. And you have the horns of the moon here in the corners. You can see it and all they have these horns. Yeah, and the rays, sometimes they are rays and sometimes they are not. I don't know, a symbol is it needs a process of analysis and deep understanding of the inner power of this to understand this. And it's for us today, it's very difficult because it needs actually social education or socialization to understand this symbol. For us, it's a little bit difficult to understand the very precise meaning of this. And also we don't know how it was changed through generations and through centuries. So this is a difficulty for us today. Yeah, this is called foreign moon. You know, in the 20s in Palestine, there arrived these pattern books of DMC, and there were patterns, European patterns in this. And obviously, the educated embroiderers, Palestinian embroiderers, remarked that this looks like the inner part of their moon pattern. So they called it foreign moon.
Wow.
Because it comes from outside. Yeah. It's a pattern that came through the pattern books, but it resembled the inner part of the moon, and therefore it's called foreign moon. And actually, I got the idea of the symbolism from the names. Why is this called foreign moon? For us, you know, for our understanding, for our socialization and education, it had nothing to do with the moon. Yeah, but when you go into this mythology, and then you understand why this is called moon pattern. Yeah.
Wow. And here we have
this is called eye of the cow. When we remember, the moon is the bull of heaven. So and this is actually the inner part of the moon pattern. So eye of the cow makes also sense, because we would say it's a star. The moon of Bethlehem, this inner part is also called moon of Bethlehem. For us, it's a star of Bethlehem, not the moon. Why do they call it moon? Yeah.
Yes. This is absolutely fascinating. We could go forever. Generally, thank you so much for this wonderful introduction to a world that is full of symbolism and magic.
Wisdom.
And wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes.
You know, they are concentrating of the central things of our existence, life and death, to be part of nature. Nowadays, we are living in the world, we have forgotten about this. And we are speaking of transhumanism, we are speaking of cyborgs, and we do not understand that everything is inside ourselves. We don't need the machines we can empower ourselves from inside. Our brain has much more possibilities than we use today. So, I think we should go a little bit back to this the thinking of this time and learn from it, at least.
True.
Of course, we are not going back, we are always going forwards, but you like the palm tree. We get more sustainable when we build on the wisdom of generations.
But I think your point is very important, and that is, in order to build and go forward, we really need to understand where we came from and what is the background, what is the history. And I think you have presented a beautiful perspective of these symbols that we see them on everyday clothing, we see them on in our surroundings, but seldom do we stop and wonder, where did they come from and how did they evolve? And I love the way you tried to highlight all of these. But just before we leave you or allow you to leave us, I would love for us to continue for another hour of talk. I wanted you to tell us a little bit more on your work again. So you continue to produce in these centers in Syria, even today?
Well, we try. It's very difficult for us. It's very difficult. During the war, we lost the contact to the embroiderers. All of them, or 90% of them, became refugees inside Syria, most of them, and some of them in Turkey, Lebanon, Europe even. And we lost the contact totally. But after the war, I made an exhibition of the work from northern Syria. And it was shown in television, and when they saw that I'm still there, the embroiderers saw that I'm still there, they contacted me and they said, come and we want to work. And actually, I didn't want to start again. I think I'm too old to start all over again, but I feel something like a responsibility, and I would like to start all over, but we have no market. We have in Syria, we used to sell to well-off Syrians and a lot of tourists. And even the well-off Syrians in the war, they have no money to spend on luxury goods. And tourists, there are no tourists there. So we need actually an outlet outside of Syria. And the export is also very difficult. Internet trade is everything is very complicated. So.
And
Yeah.
the collection that you have of Syrian pieces, of Syrian articles of clothing, are they, can you tell us a little bit about it? I mean, do you have a collection? How big is it? How old? How long, how far back does it go? Maybe give us an idea.
Yeah, I have several pieces that are more than 100 years old, but mainly they are actually from like 70 years old, 60 years old, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, like this, 50s, 60s. And I have about, I think, 30 pieces. Yeah, I'm not a collector, and it's not I always bought when I saw something and I didn't want to go to have it distributed. I made a little museum in Damascus. We have a school museum there. And in this school museum, I organized a room for the traditional clothing from my collection. I gave them pieces of my collection because I think that the children should be informed about their traditions and their past. And yeah, the other pieces I have at home.
Well, I'm really grateful and thankful to you for accepting our invitation and for joining us in this talk. I'm pleased to meet you, even if it is virtually, and I hope that this is the start of a long relationship and friendship. And I would love to take it forward outside this platform in order to discuss ways we can collaborate, we can shed more light on the work that you're doing, how we can assist each other, because our passion is one, and we would love to continue carrying this torch and helping make it go through to the next generation.
Yeah, thank you very much for your invitation, and I'm always ready to talk with you. I think it needs really a discussion, because only through a discussion, perhaps something that I said now is wrong, it will be, there are other new discoveries. So you need actually this to come together and discuss things. Also from other angles, from other sides. This is very important to get forward with these ideas. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.